Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about from season 4, episode 10, the season finale. So it finally came, and I'm just like, man, right from the start, it was a huge banger and everything. It was horrifying, it was scary, it was tense. You were on the edge of your seat, you didn't know who was gonna live or die. Then of course, like after all the scary stuff, here comes all the freaky paranormal stuff that is like unexplained. Then it starts to quiet down because we start to lose some characters and stuff. They're finally getting rid of some dead weight by killing off two recurring characters. Not main, but recurring. And one of these characters I'm glad they got rid of because I'm like, this person has done absolutely nothing for a long time. And the other person, well, we all saw coming. Then, of course, there was a huge revelation towards, like, the middle end, but mostly to the end. So, this episode, while it did not answer no questions of how to get them home, it did answer a couple of theories that people were starting to have, like, this season and stuff. So they're gonna save everything for the final season to finally explain what the heck happened. But mostly this episode with the man in yellow with a lot of cryptic messages and stuff like that. And so like all in all, I think this episode was extremely good and well deserved because this season has really only had like maybe 3 really good episodes in terms of what like From should be, and then the rest was just like boring, lazy filler that just led to absolutely nothing. Because sadly, this season, like I've been saying before, has been a bit of a letdown and everything. It moved at a very slow crawl of a pace and everything, to the point where it has been frustrating fans left and right. And that's sad because a lot of people, they try to get their friends and other people to watch this show, then they finally start to watch it only to watch this season, which this season has been a huge letdown. Too many characters have done absolutely positively nothing this entire season. And those that have done something mainly only done like one major thing, and like that's it. Storylines got completely dropped halfway, and it's just kind of baffling and everything. So, for this review, normally what I like to do, I like to do my introduction of like how I feel about like, the episode, this and that, and then I go into character bios. I'm gonna do something a little slightly different. I just did my intro. Now I'm going to do character bios from episode 1 to 9 very quickly and not spend a lot of time on there. I just want to get you like follow up like, on what these characters have either done or have not done. And then for the review, I'm just going to go scene by scene explaining what the freak nuts just happened because a lot of freaky deaky stuff happened and everything. And it's very shocking and it's just like some of it was mind blowing. But then of course, in typical From fashion, the new freaky stuff that happens just opens up more questions that are not answered. And this is what's frustrating a lot of fans. So let's just do a very like quick recap of what's all been going on. Bus driver lady, whose name I do not know, has done absolutely positively nothing this entire season, but just kind of gets shoved into like the background, maybe chopping vegetables. She did, however, discover that Sophia, or Sophie, whatever her name is, like was able to turn the radio on just by like poking it and everything. I wonder how she did that. Christy, for the most part, has done really nothing but like patch people up That's kind of typical for her lately. She's been arguing with her girlfriend a lot, and she discovered that Fatima shouldn't even be alive and everything. I forget this woman's name. Is it Mary Ellis? Christie's girlfriend has done nothing. Nothing but like argue with her girlfriend and contemplate where exactly they are and doesn't believe in like a heaven or hell type thing and stuff like that. And like whatchamacallem, like finally revealed what it felt like on season 2 when she was under the influence of like the township place that they're in. Kenny has done nothing, but he had a major scary like episode when he volunteered to test out the podum staffs and everything on the monster people, which he almost got killed and had to run to a bus, and Smiley almost got him. And that's all he's really done. Sarah, nothing. Nothing but take in Sophia and paint the room for Sophia and like offer herself up for like a sacrifice and everything in case Boyd needs like, somebody to sacrifice because of what she did to her brother and Kenny's like, father and stuff like that. Now, the man in yellow tempted her to drink some water, pour the water back in the pitcher and this and that. And that's really all she's done. Clara is the mole and has been working with the man in the yellow and everything. This came out of complete nowhere because this person is literally just a background recurring character. But this person is selfish and only cares about getting herself home. Ellis, nothing. 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 But care about Fatima. But other than that, nothing. All Tabitha really has done this whole season, which is shocking compared to what she did last season, is for the most part just like try to keep her family safe. Doesn't want her kids to worry, and starting to remember a couple of bits and pieces of her reincarnated life, like the giant dolls and everything. And then she volunteered to go down in the tunnels to get like the bones. Other than that, she really hasn't done nothing but like argue with people and stuff. Julie. So originally she realized she can travel through time. So she's been trying to bring that on for the first 2, maybe 3 episodes, and that's it. Where she was successful in traveling back in time. And so she tracked down her brother's books and her old abandoned house that's like underground, trying to see if she can master it and go to a specific point in time to try to rescue her father from dying and everything. After like 2 unsuccessful attempts and nearly dying herself, she just all of a sudden gave up on it and reverted back to who she originally was, a grumpy teenager. This was such a huge missed opportunity because it gave her character literally nothing to do for the rest of the season. Randall. The only thing that man has done is accompany Julie on her time travel shenanigans and everything. Like pulling her out of like, the archway so she can come back in the present because she was having seizures. And going down underground to get her brother's books and everything. That's literally all this dude has done after that explosive introduction from season 2. Donna, much of absolutely nothing this season, but doing what she always does. Whenever Boyd comes up with a plan, she's not okay with it because she's worried it might get people hurt. Then she has a heart attack and she survives it, and that's basically about it. Elgin. So Elgin was still in denial about how to leave this place and believing he did a good thing last season. Only for Boyd to scare the little piss out of him, so he stopped believing in that. Then Fatima had him go retrieve dirt, and other than that, he's just been lollygagging around talking to people, only to discover who Sophia somewhat really is and stuff. finding a photograph of Sophia from back in the 1970s or 80s, and like an idiot confronted her about that, but in a goofy kind of manner, only for his fate to be revealed in the last episode. Officer Danny basically had a huge meltdown and wanted to go home and drove around town like a crazy person, nearly hitting Ethan and everything. After being arrested, she wanted to kill herself, but Boyd won't let her, so he gave her a task to occupy her mind. He wants her to go through all the people belongings that have died to see if she can find a correlation as to how to get home or why they were selected to be there. Then he gives her the job of trying to figure out who the man in yellow is. All that led to is for her barely appearing in the season and her playing with toys. She had to have been busy this season and couldn't film something. Like, there's no other explanation than that. Henry, after finding out what happened to his wife and Tabitha being reincarnated from his wife, he has lost it to the point of just becoming a drunk. And the man in yellow poisoned him to where he has hallucinations, believing that he's actually in the hospital and he's been slipping in and out of a coma. And the only way to stay fully awake is to detach himself from what's keeping him and that supposed like delusion of the township, which he has to get rid of his anchor, which he tells his son, "You are my anchor," which I was right about that. And so he's been contemplating if he's going to kill his son or not. Ethan, devastated by the loss of his father, he's been in search for the Lake of Tears because his father came to him in a hallucination and told him to find the Lake of Tears. So for the first 2, maybe 3 episodes, he tried that, but then gave up on it, only to be scared by that of like, what's that dude's name? God, what's the crazy dude's name? I forget his name. Only to scare him and be all like, look, you're going to be just like me. You're going to be stuck here all alone and all your family members are going to die and everybody else. So he's been trying to prepare him for like, how to survive and everything. The whole Lake of Tears thing, why did that get dropped, man? Like, come on, man. I don't want that crammed in the last season. Victor, that's it. So Victor, main goal this season is like it's giving Boyd information on the man in yellow and everything. How that man came to town, who is he, like what happened after everybody left, searching the man in the yellow's car, finding the teeth, stuff like that. He's also been trying to be there for his father and is really upset at himself because he blames himself for upsetting his father by telling how his mother died, getting eaten by the man in yellow. Jay's goal the entire season is trying to find a way out of town by trying to remember as much as he can by hallucinating. So he drugs himself up and he starts tripping to the point of like his younger self visiting him, and he's realizing something. All these past people he have seen in his hallucinations are actually his reincarnated self. And he believes digging up the bones will get everybody out of there. So he comes up with a plan to try to do that. Fatima has been feeling weird this season, and she started first building a golem out of dirt, saying that it will protect them and everything from the evil that is in the township and stuff. And the golem is like this mythological, like magical thing from many different, cultures and countries and stuff. And it was a story from which her father told her about. While she was messing around with that, which we don't know what happened to the golem because there was an earthquake this last episode, so no telling what happened to it. But she was able to save Kenny because she told everybody that somehow she feels connected to that monster she gave birth to last season, Smiley and everything. She sees what he sees and she feels what he feels. When Kenny was in danger from that of like Smiley, she was able to make him stop just by screaming stop. even though she was from a faraway distance. Later, this caused her to have veins on her stomach. And then the man in yellow poisoned her with the help of Clara, which caused her to squirm in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And it's revealed that none of her organs are working. She don't know that, but Christy has not told her yet. She technically should be dead. Boyd. So Boyd is pretty much just trying to keep the peace and trying to, and he's giving orders left and right, like telling Jade, find a way on out of here and this and that. But when he gets the information from Jade of how to escape the place, he doesn't initially believe him until Father Kadri comes to him in a hallucination. And then he starts to believe everything Jade says and starts looking for the door, going into the tunnels and digging up the bones and coming up with a plan to get the bones and the people out of there. But he is very cautious because of the simple fact, there's only one exit out of there. When Victor tries to warn him, but the boy in white told him, for whatever odd reason, Boy does not want to believe him. Which is stupid. The boy in white is a mystical, spiritual kind of thing that lives in the township. If there's anything you should believe, it's the one that's been protecting everybody this whole time. But he doesn't. And also, the place is tricking him and playing with his mind, making him constantly seeing hallucinations of his dead wife. Because he just can't let her go because he still blames himself. Other than that, he's just been, taking command of situations and stuff. Sophia, aka the man in the yellow jacket, a new character that was introduced at the end of last season. But technically, at the end of the first season, we heard his voice, which does not sound like him, but hey, whatever. And so the man in yellow wanted to go in township to start spying on people and interfering with their lives. So he dressed up as Sophia. And in order for him to do that, he literally just transformed. But he can only take the appearance of somebody that is dead. Nobody truly knows who or heck what this thing is. But we know from what Victor said, he came into town just like everybody else. He drove in there. He likes to collect the teeth of dead people. He killed Jim. He keeps warning Tabitha and everything, you're getting too close, and this is the closest you and Jade have ever come to trying to escape. Even though technically she escaped at the end of season 3, only to come back and everything. But yeah. So he's manipulating situations while being there in town, pissing off Julie, making Sarah drink that water and everything, making folks hallucinate, poisoning people, this and that. But nobody seems to know who the heck he is until he reveals himself to Clara because they made a bargain. Then he was forced to reveal himself to Elgin because Elgin figured something out but wasn't sure what that was. And the thing about him is that he is very evil and sinister, and he loves causing pain and misery and feeding off that, or at least the town feeds off that or something. We found out that this whole place is built on ritual and everything. It's not so much what you have, it's how you do it and the way you do it and stuff. Like the talismans, you have to literally hang it up near a doorway or a window, mostly the doorway and everything, and it will protect you from the monsters. The totem poles will only work on the giant dolls and stuff. In order to bring somebody back to life, monstrous and everything, like a doll person, you have to use a still life egg and say some type of incarnation. His powers just seem to have no limit. There are some things he can do and some things he can't, and it makes no sense. Taking over people's minds, and then because he took over the pastor that came there by making him go to sleep. Then he woke the pastor up. But in order to make people hallucinate, and some people he can just make hallucinate on their own, and other people he has to poison. So it never makes a whole lot of sense. When he finds out that they're going into the tunnels to get the bones, at first he was a little startled, but then after that didn't really care because he knew he was going to warn the dead people and sabotage it and everything. And he literally physically had to sabotage it with like the ladder rope. And so his powers sometimes just don't make no sense and everything. But then when he finds out it's only going to be Tabitha and Jay going down there, then he worried, letting us know that, like, hey, they might be onto something with these bones and getting people home. But at that same time, he tries to manipulate and warn that of like Tabitha by saying, hey, maybe y'all can get home, or maybe it'll unleash something terrible upon town. And judging by this episode, you can go either way with that, you know? And so, like, whatchamacallem, like, in order for him like to transform, he literally has to like go into like the woods, nobody can see him, and transform, but put on different clothes. He does have an attachment to his yellow jacket for some bizarre reason, and not sure why that is. But he seems to be kind of like a devil-like figure, whereas the boy in white seems to be like a god-like figure and stuff. And after this episode, they kind of have an architect oracle situation similar to that of the Matrix. They know each other and everything. And he has revealed he is playing a game. And so he's literally setting things in motion, causing tons of havoc. So the episode starts exactly where it left off at, with Jade and Tabitha down in the tunnels collecting the bones and everything, with the monster people behind the tarp. And I was just so worried. I'm like, is it gonna work? Is it not? But we don't see none of the monsters crossing. So I'm like, oh, okay, so it must have worked or something like that. So they are desperately putting the bones inside like a duffel bag type thing. On the outside, we have Boyd and pretty much all the supporting cast members, ready to pull up the tree whenever Tabitha and Jade give the word. But we realize something very quickly from Jade. He wants Tabitha to go up the ladder rope first because he lied. I'm all like, what the heck did he lie about? So he says he lied, telling them that once we get the bones, we will be safe down in the tunnels and the monsters won't hurt us. But he just said that because he knew nobody wanted to go along with his plan, and he desperately wanted to get those bones and everything. I'm just kind of like, man, old Tabitha would have been pissed and fussing, but this one's just more scared and everything. So they have to do the whole Morse code thing to signal to Boyd and them. And so once they signal, Boyd and the rest pull the tree up with a truck. And I'm just like, oh God, what the heck is gonna happen and everything? Because the boy in white specifically warned them, do not do that. And Boyd just does not want to listen, which I'm shocked and surprised he doesn't want to listen. And so once I saw the tree come up, I'm like, oh God, oh God. But I'm all like, at least now they can get out. But then all of a sudden, here comes the monster people and stuff, pulling back the tarp. I'm just kind of like, well, hold up. Were they playing possum the entire time? Did it really just not work? And why didn't it work? I don't get it. Because in season 1, when the monsters got in the house, somebody went into who was that? What's his name? Ellis. He was kind of trapped, and I think Fatima saved him they went into some place in the house, and then she put up the talisman up there near the door, and nobody could get in. So it wasn't near the inside part of the house. It was just a part, like a room in the house. And then of course, there are like the tents and everything and the RV. So why in the world didn't it work? Or maybe it did work until they pulled up the tree. So this part was terrifying because they can't run and they just walk real slow. And that slow walk reminds me so much of the zombies from Walking Dead. When it's fast, it's scary. But when it's slow and they come in creeping, oh, it's even worse. So they're desperately asking for like the rope. And then they get it. But here's the interesting thing. Every fan theory has just been proven about the sun. For whatever reason, they are afraid of the sunlight, which is why they only come out at night. When the sun touched the face of the cowboy, he flinched, looked up, and then, moved back really quickly, and all the other ones started getting like worried, and they refused to go in the sun. But what is it about the sunlight that they're terrified of? Because we know that they won't burn up, because of Smiley, when he died in that one season, his body was still there in the morning, and I was expecting him to burn up like a vampire, but he never did. I wonder if the sunlight can reverse their monsterism and turn them back human. Heck if I know, but for whatever reason, they're scared. So Tabitha starts going up the rope first, but it snaps because of the man in yellow cutting it in the past episode, and she falls down. And so I'm just like, how the heck are they gonna get out of there? Like, please don't kill them, man. They're too much beloved characters, and they gotta figure a way to get everybody out. But then the craziest thing happened. So Christy's just there, and she's looking kind of weird and looking up, as we can see all of a sudden it starts to get dim, and then it quickly turns into night in the middle of the day. This must have been a price for like removing one of the bottle trees and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my freaking God, don't tell me this is gonna be similar to Van Helsing on Sci-Fi, where, it's gonna be nightfall, like day and night, until the sun finally comes out. Could you imagine if season 5 was like that, where it's nighttime every time and they have to stay stuck inside like a house or a building? So the monsters are like finally able to try to get the Jade and Tabitha, while the other monsters go back through the tunnel and get the people on top. And they are terrified. But then something crazy happens. An earthquake happens all throughout the township. And it is a devastating earthquake. And it managed to, well, it seemed to be open up like a crack in the wall for Jade and Tabitha to crawl through. But the monsters are hot on their trail. So I'm all like, oh man, this is gonna be like season 2 finale of The Walking Dead. Like, here come the monsters and everything. People are scared, they're freaking out. Boys all like, no, I'm staying, I gotta get them out. And Chrissy's all like, look, we're all gonna die if we don't leave now, and it will be pointless. So everybody hops in their truck, but then Burn-Face Victim stands there petrified and everything. And Boyd has to save her. And so it's a good old car chase, just like from season 2, I believe, where they do the whole front view perspective, and they kind of keep the camera on the same, like, angle and everything, the point of view of like the driver. And so we see monsters on the side of the road, and they're still walking, but when one gets a little close, it's like banging at the door. And I'm like, hold up. Did it grab onto the door? And it did. So it's kind of like dangling for a while until like it falls off. So Burn-Face Victim, whose name I forgot, she is panicking in the back. And I mean, she is panicking and everything. She's all telling boys all like, you said we were going to be safe. You said we were going to go home and blah, 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 blah. And so she grabs his gun and she's about to blow her brains out. But she misses and she hits the window by her. And Boy is able to get the gun from her. I assume a monster was gonna hop through the window, but never did. That would have been cool. So Tabitha and Jade are desperately trying to make their way on out of there while all this crazy stuff was going on, right? And so they're like crawling and crawling and they're like trapped. And they can't find a way out, but then they're able to find like a teeny tiny like, um kind of like a hole with these like sticks that are blocking their path. So they're trying to get out that way, but here comes a monster. Then the craziest thing happens again, and there's another earthquake. And it sealed up the entrance where that one monster was at. Now, when the earthquakes happen, the monsters are terrified for some reason. And it's like, how? They can't die of stuff falling on them. And so this is really interesting with the earthquake thing. Like the first earthquake saved Jade and Tabitha, and then the second one saved them as well. It wasn't just something random that happened. It was almost like somebody was looking out for them and everything. Because it opened an entrance for them and then it closed another entrance and everything. And so I do wonder, could this be the boy in white using whatever kind of power he might have and everything? I still think the boy in white and the man in yellow are like the yin and the yang, like the good and the bad, like the god-like figure and like the devil type figure, you know? But you also got to remember that like this place tends to have a mind of its own and everything. But I do wonder if they're able, the man in yellow and the boy in white are able to manipulate that. So Fatima is with Marielle and she's frantic. She's all like, this is not normal. It's like dark and the others are not safe. We have to help them. And like Marielle is just like, like, what are we supposed to do? We're like over here and this and that. Like, you need to stay here. And she's like, no, what is it you're telling me? Because she knows something's wrong with her, but nobody will tell her what it is. And then she senses him. She senses Smiley walking up to the clinic and everything, and she's terrified. So they're like, they're safe as long as they have the talisman. But there's a problem. The talisman is missing. It got knocked down during the earthquake and everything. So Marielle is desperately looking for it. And she's searching for it and it's underneath some rubble. So her arm isn't long enough to reach for it, but she's just like, oh crap, dude, like what's gonna happen? I know what's gonna happen. This woman ain't did nothing in a long time and they need to get rid of some dead weight. And here he comes in, smiling down, calling that a Fatima mother and everything. And he's just walking. His face turns monstrous. Marielle grabs that of a knife. I'm thinking, man, they ain't gonna do nothing. Boy was shooting monsters and it didn't do nothing. So a knife really ain't gonna do nothing. And of course, he gashes the crap out of her stomach. But then Fatima starts screaming at him, and the scream sounds similar to that of what the monsters do. His face turns back human. He says, interesting, and just leaves. And it's just creepy. He's just like one word, interesting. And it's just like, like it's spooky, man. And he leaves, but Marielle, she doesn't want Fatima to touch her because she's like, what the heck are you and everything. But then she lets her try to get like something like a tourniquet or something like that. So Smiley's walking, leaving the place, and here comes Chrissy and Ellis in the truck, and Chrissy knows something's wrong. Why would he be smiling and walking away from the clinic? They go in and bet you anything, Marielle is starting to die. And I figured she would because the woman literally just hasn't done nothing since season 2. Because the writers literally have nothing for her. They could have came up with something juicy between her, Kenny, and Chrissy, but they never did. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe they could sew her up and maybe she'll live. Like, you just never know. But she starts telling Chrissy, just kiss me one last time, because you know that fiance. Chrissy kisses her, and then she falls limp and she dies. And honestly, I could care less. I'm sorry, but when characters do absolutely nothing, I don't have no attachment to them. If it was one of the other characters, I would just be like, oh my god, and everything, but nothing like that, you know? So Chrissy is gonna be devastated. And then we get the other climactic, like, cliffhanger from the last episode. Elgin. I still don't understand what this man was thinking when he showed that photograph. Somebody did an AI video on Threads of, like, I think somebody knocking Clara in the head. No, knocking the man in yellow in the head or something like that. Then going to Elgin, taking the photograph and giving the photograph to Boy. Like, there you go. But the man in yellow kept Elgin alive and everything because he wants to make a bargain similar to the one with Clara. And I do wonder when Clara first got there, he came to her. But how? I want to see a flashback and everything. How did he manage to get her alone when nobody else was there? And for her to never ask nobody, hey, whatever happened to this man in the yellow jacket, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody knows everybody there. So the man in yellow, aka Sophia, is all like, yo, just like take my bargain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that easy and everything. And Elgin's just kind of like, he doesn't want to. He's kind of a little defiant. And the man in yellow ain't having this crap. There will be no defiance and everything. Elgin tries to split from there when the man in yellow gets up and turns around and starts monologuing, only for Clara to stop him. I'm all like, this stinking heifer. And no, I'm not talking about heifer as in like a large person, like a cow. I'm talking about the B word. That's what the other heifer means. I'm all like, you guys to be kidding me. She blocked his exit. Because he could have took off, because I doubt the man in yellow can run fast, you know? And so, like, when he turns around, he see Elgin's up, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's over with now. So he asked Elgin to go in the kitchen and give him his hand and everything, but he doesn't want to do. I'm like, oh, he is so dead. He is so dead. Elgin still refuses and starts praying. And the man in yellow is all like, you people and your religion and everything. Oh no, you people and your prayers. I don't know how he did it, but all he did was crush the fingers of Elgin, which caused so much pain that blood started pouring out of Elgin's mouth and like nose area and stuff. He screams and hollers, and then he's just dead. Like dead. But how did this happen? What is the man in yellow's power set? It's like there's some things he can do, so you think he can do everything, but then some things he can't. So then I'm all like, oh wait a minute, there's a light coming up to like, you know, the diner. Maybe Elgin's gonna be safe, but nah, he died. And so then the man in yellow tells that of Claire to clean the body or get rid of the body, and she's all like, how and everything. And he's all like, I don't care, just make it happen. And then, you know, something interesting happens when Sophia leaves. She takes the talisman off of like the door near like the entrance and everything. But here's the thing, that flash of light, it wasn't a car. It's now sunlight again. So the darkness did not last that long, sadly. I wish it did. Like, think about it. 24/7 of darkness, those monsters are gonna be everywhere. Then we get good old Henry, and I'm all like, oh no, like, please don't kill like your son. Donna comes in and they have a conversation. He still doesn't believe this place is real and stuff like that. and he's still poisoned, and he sees like a peach can, and he finds bullets. These bullets belong to that of Victor. Remember, he has that pistol and everything, that 6 shooter. And he asked, why are there bullets here? And she's like, oh, your son used to have a gun and everything, but boy, he took it. And so she's all like, you really should see your son, in like, the police station and everything, because that huge earthquake happened, and he's just like, oh, did you see the sunlight? And it went to dark and everything, middle of the day. That's not normal. Blah blah blah. And so he still wants to kill his son, and Donna just goes up to him and is like, you should really go visit your son. She doesn't know what he wants to do. The comedic timing and writing and direction of this scene was beautiful. She's literally egging him on to see his son, and we know he wants to murder his son, but she has no idea, and she is very attached to Victor. So back in the clinic, you got Chrissy mourning, sad over Marielle. You have Ellis talking to Fatima, and Boyd shows up. And Randall tells him, I guess like what happened. So Boyd goes into the room with Chrissy, and it's one of the saddest scenes ever. Like Marielle just looks like a corpse. And Boyd is just, and it's blood all over the floor and all over her jacket. And he just grabs her. And then the moment he grabs her, she bawls into tears. And just like, it's one of the saddest scenes ever in this show, next to Kenny's mom dying. And the actress who plays Marielle, like, bopping her head around because, it's like, her head just like, drooping around and giving that extra death, like, bopping her head around because Chrissy's moving around because she's crying and hollering. Oh, man. But here's the problem with these two dying, Elgin and Marielle, right? It would have been okay if one would have died, but both of them dying. I don't mind the dead weight. Here's the problem with this, right? There's an old trope in Hollywood where they like to kill off the people of color, the women, or the LGBT. Here, it's like a triple play. They killed the black man, they killed the woman, and the woman happens to be a lesbian. Still going on in Hollywood today. I swear to God. Swear to God. But then, the freaky stuff ain't stopped yet. And so, back in the tunnel where the bottle tree was, it starts to have kind of like a glowing effect, like it's burning. But then all of a sudden, red lightning shoots up from the hole and into the sky over and over again. And then all of a sudden, the entire sky has lit up red with lightning. This is not normal. What does this mean? This has never happened in this show before, but it has to be some type of effect from that of the bottle tree. And so everybody realized, oh crap, we have screwed up because there is now, like Boyd said, there is now a hole in the sky and everything. But what has happened? Of course, we ain't gonna get no answers. We ain't gonna find out until the next season and everything. But the fact that the sky turned red, that's just nuts. And red lightning on top of that. And everybody can see that happening. And, the thing about the bottle trees, right? I don't know the real true significance of them. Because I looked online. There appears to be two in the township. One is the one that just ripped out of the ground, and the other one you can hop into, and it can take you different places around the township, or it can take you to like the light tower and everything. Then there's another one in Henry's backyard. There might be another one on the outside of township, but I'm not sure. So there are at least 3. And apparently just removing one will cause like craziness to happen and stuff. So Donna is back with Ethan and Julie, and like Ethan is starting to lose it and everything because nobody's back yet, and neither are his mother. So he's worried and everything. Like he's thinking she could be like dead or something like that. And I think somebody said that they haven't returned yet. They're still down in the tunnel. Then the poltergeist type stuff starts to happen in the house again. Like when they're in like the dining room kitchen, or I guess it's the kitchen, because the dinner table's in the kitchen. Stuff starts flying around everywhere, and the doors start opening and windows. I'm all like, oh, that's right. I forgot it does that. It did that after Jim had died and everything, and the family was sitting down at the exact same table. I think this could be Jim's spirit because spirits don't, leave this place once you're dead and everything, especially when people getting reincarnated and stuff. And it's just, I think that is his spirit trying to signal them for something. But what that something is, I don't know. Then Ethan just loses it. And my hat goes off to this young actor who gave a very convincing performance of him losing his mind. Talking about this is it, everybody's gonna die and I'm gonna be alone, just like Victor said, and mom's dead and all this other stuff. And Julie's all like, lying to him, was all like, look, we will figure something out and everything. I'm not gonna leave you and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe she's gonna start story walking again and try to change everything. Nah, they dropped that completely. But here's the odd thing: it's Donna in the background. While Julie is comforting her brother, Donna's just standing there in the background in her cane, with her hands on her cane in front of her, very still, not moving, just watching. And the camera even like, because when you see her in the background, it's blurred, right? Even the camera is panning towards that of Donna going away from the kids. I'm like, why would the camera do that? Is it to give the actress more screen time? But you can't see her. Camera trickery like this is normally important for something, like a hidden message or something. The cameraman, director, and stuff are not just gonna pan away from where the action is going to pan away to where somebody's just standing there doing absolutely nothing. It's like she's observing, she's watching and everything. I think there's something up with Donna. Like, I really do. Like, I've been feeling that way ever since season 2 when Randall said that. At some point in time, they have to get rid of Marielle's body. So Randall, who hasn't really done much this season, and Ellis, they help with the body. At some point in time, Boyd goes to see Kenny, and they're like, oh, we screwed up. There's a hole in the sky, blah 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 blah, and then Officer Danny comes in, and Sarah's there, and all of a sudden, as they're all arguing and everything and bantering with each other, Sarah can hear the Morse code on the little radio thing from Tabitha and Jay. Now they know they're still alive and they're going to get them. Tabitha and Jay cannot move those sticks, so they're just gonna dig. And they start digging like, with their hands and stuff. But that's not good enough. They need shovels. So they start using the bones. And at some weird, bizarre time, Tabitha's going to look at the skull. And I'm thinking, oh, she's about to have a flashback. Something important. They're going to give us some answers, right? No. No. Instead, what happens is she looks at the skull and remembers, oh, it's that little ghost girl and everything. She's all like, this was her. This was our child, the female girl. Woman, this is not the time to be reminiscing about your dead ghostly child. You gotta dig. Ellis and Fatima tell Boyd, and everything, they're gonna go with him in the tunnels and he's not gonna go by himself. Because Fatima tells her, her new power and everything, she can see the monsters and know when they're coming, and she can be his eyes and ears. Then come the moment I talked about Henry and Victor. How Victor is the anchor, and now Henry got a gun. And Victor's all sad and talking about like I caused you so much pain by telling you about mom and the man in the yellow, this and that. And Henry's like, nah, man, this is not real. Like, don't you see I'm hallucinating, man? You're like in the hospital with your son and everything. And I'm gonna prove it to you. He points that gun at Victor. Now, first things first, if you are familiar with South Park, you will get this reference. The walkie-talkie and a face of that of Steven Spielberg. You should be able to get that reference. If not, you're not a true South Park fan. I'm like, holy crap, this is about to happen. He's about to kill Victor, and I'm about to be sad. But then Ethan shows up. And Henry turns to that of Ethan with the gun. I'm like, no, don't pull a Carl from The Walking Dead. Don't get shot. But then Victor's able to get the gun from him and everything and fight him off with the gun. And I'm like, thank God they're all alive. But this now my theory's not coming true. Neither of them died. But thank God, because I didn't want that to happen. So while this has happened, Sophia has been going all around town into different buildings and stealing the talismans. And then all of a sudden Clara shows up with a bag and she's all like, you got the rest? And they're like, yeah. So she had Clara steal the rest of the talismans. Of course, without those, the monsters can now enter the house. I don't know what the heck is going to happen next season, but it's going to be scary. Now, there are hiding spots because Donna used to know some, and so does Victor. But, Victor just can't go in his like little truck thing because there's no talisman now. But he didn't have one back in the day. But Donna and them know of some hiding spots, which still I don't understand how that works. How did the monsters never find them? I don't get it, They seem to know where everybody be at when it's nighttime and stuff. So the group's about to go into the tunnel and rescue that of Tabitha and that of Jade. We can hear monsters screaming and everything, and Fatima's doing her power thing, sensing where they are and navigating. Then they find them. And so, but they still can't get them out. So Boy just shoots like the sticks and they're able to get out. But here comes the monsters now. And Fatima, ooh, it happened. It happened. She tell Ellis, remember me, how I was and everything. And you slowly see her hand start to turn. Then she transforms into one of those monsters. So those theories were right. She was turning into one of those dead people, monster people. Because of that bond she has with that Smiley and everything and giving birth to him. And so she does her little scream thing and she's sacrificing herself and she's able to control the monsters and make them stop in their monster scream language. Ellis is like beside himself. He's trying to get to her, but Boyd is pulling him back. And it's not poor Fatima, man. Everybody loves her and everything. She was one of the sweetest people from season 1, the little hippie girl and stuff. And then it just ends. Then we get an eerie scene with the boy in white and that the Sophia, the man in yellow. They're walking and then they meet up with each other side by side. And it's weird because the actress who plays Sophia is actually an adult. And that boy is actually a real teenager. And she's about his height. But we know the man in yellow's playing a game. What kind of game? Don't know. And the boy in white doesn't want to see nobody to get hurt and everything. And, we then see the man in yellow, aka Sophia, dump all the talismans in a tree. Now I think this is the other bottle tree, the one that takes you like to the lighthouse and other places and stuff like that around the township. Ooh, it's gonna be interesting next season. So, this season has been frustrating. I have seen people on threads talking about they're done with this show. This show is BS. They're not giving us no answers. They're giving us more questions and they are done. I feel their pain, but I'm still gonna watch. Because I wants to know what the heck is gonna happen and if they're gonna get home or not. But it is disappointing in this finale we didn't get no answers to the bigger scheme of things, just the smaller stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.